Hey everyone, it is Belinda Goodrich from PM Learning Solutions, and what I want to do in this video is walk you through the PMP Application Assistant spreadsheet. Now, the application for the Project Management Professional exam is, some would say, almost as tough as the exam itself, and people will really stress over that and stress over the application process, and then that interferes with just getting it done, getting in there and getting the test done. So what I want to do is walk you through our tool that we use to help make it as easy and painless as possible. Now, after doing this for over 13 years, working with hundreds of project managers, we've learned how PMI likes to see things. So as we walk through, I want you to really pay attention to all of my clues and my hints here to make sure that you're saving yourself headaches on the back end if PMI rejects your application. So here's our spreadsheet, and you'll notice we have multiple tabs. Right, and I'm gonna go ahead and make some notes here as we go through. All right, so you can see we have these tabs down here. We have it set up for multiple projects. And what we want to do first is kind of walk through what we have. So here's just some instructions of what the tabs are going to be. The next tab are going to be your domains, and we've given you some examples of the types of things you would be doing on your projects for each of these different domains. You can see in initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, control, and closing. Now, this is important because when you do your application, you need to demonstrate that you have experience across all 5 domains. Okay, so here's some good things, and I'll give you a big hint here. Using this verbiage is really important. So you may call it something else, but on the application, managing resource allocation, executing tasks defined in the plan, implementing approved changes. These are buzzwords. These are terms that PMI is familiar with. Now, we've given you screenshots of the actual application itself on the next tab, so you can see what it's going to be like. And again, we have replicated this within the spreadsheet, but that just gives you an idea of what you're going to have to fill in. We've given you some FAQs here. One thing we get questions on a lot is, hey, the cells are locked. Can you send me the password? No, we are not going to send you the password because the cells that are password protected are locked for a reason, and you do not need to unlock those. Okay, any cell that you would need to enter information is unlocked. Okay, so if you're trying to enter something in and it's giving you a password warning, that's telling you you actually should not be entering information in that cell. All right, we've given you a bunch of our resources that we have. Of course, we have flashcards out there. We have our pocket guide. We have our courseware bundles. What you don't see on here is actually our self-study book as well. We do have a PMP self-study book that is out there. Our YouTube channel has a ton of information on it as well. I have put a bunch of videos out there. All right, now we get going. The first thing that we want you to do is this education tab. Okay, now, so watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to kind of do a sample. Let's say that I have a bachelor's degree and I got it, let's say in 2015. Now, notice on here, you'll see the little red asterisks. Okay, those are indicating that on the actual exam, or on the actual application, on the actual application, these fields will be required. Okay, you don't need to fill them in for the purpose of our spreadsheet, but we wanted to make sure you know that, so as you're gathering your information, you know what you need. Now, look what happened when I did that. When I added bachelor's degree, watch what happens right here. See how it defaulted my months required to 36 months and my project hours down to 4,500. Now, watch what happens when I change that and I say, oh, no, you know what? I wanted my bachelor's degree, but I received my associate's. See what happened over here? It changed the requirements. So that's why we always start with this, because this is going to dictate what you're going to need for hours and months. Okay? So that's the first one we want to look at. Then we come down here to project management education. Now, for the PMP exam, you need 35 hours of project management education. If you have your certified associate in project management, your CAP-M, you already have met the requirement. They're not going to make you put any more hours in there. okay? But if you have not received your CAPM, this is where you put it. Most people use a boot camp like our class that we do. So you would just say PMP boot camp, whatever the class was. Again, you just want to make sure your dates are before your application, and then 35 hours or whatever it may be, okay? And again, you might have multiple courses that created your 35 hours. Now, there's no time limit on this. You could have taken a project management course 40 years ago and it still counts. Now, obviously, to be best prepared for your PMP exam, hopefully you've done some type of a boot camp or some type of a training that has prepared you for this very challenging exam. All right, so you've got that in. Now let's go to this experience summary tab. Now, this is very, very, very important. And this is what kind of messes people up the most. They're like, oh, you know, the spreadsheet's defaulting to 2017 and I can't do any current. Can you send me an updated spreadsheet? The spreadsheet's already updated, but the key here is this section right here. We try to put it in big and yellow and really point it out, but sometimes people miss this one. So what we want to do here is we want to actually say, okay, when am I going to submit my application to PMI? So let's say I'm going to do it in June 2020. All right, now it's going to shift all these years out that you see over here. All right, it's going to default so that you can enter it in and it can show you what you need. Now, remember back on my education tab, I put associate's degree. So see how it's telling me that I need 60 months, I need 7,500 hours, right? So I still need those. Remember, I put in my 35-hour project management training. So that says, oh, I've got that. Yay, that's a green box. That's good. All right, so this is the next sheet we do. Now, here's where we get into the fun. We want to start listing out our projects. Now, kind of a couple hints here to keep in mind. Keep it simple, sweetheart, right? If you had one big project that spanned 5 years and gave you all your hours, awesome, use that. If there's a way to group your projects so that you have fewer to put on here, awesome. Okay, now obviously the one thing is, do not lie. Okay, remember that 25% of applications are randomly selected for audit. I always tell people to assume you're going to be audited, and that way you're excited and happy when you're not audited. Okay, so again, think about that. Now, there is no need to put anything more on here than what is required. So don't be like, oh, I'm going to go for extra credit and put, 75 months of experience on here. PMI, the application is going to shut you off once you've met your minimum, okay, or met your requirement. So there's no need to put extra projects on here. Okay, so here's where it gets good. Now, kind of follow along with me as we do this. Now, one thing you want to make sure in your title is that it sounds like a project, okay? Don't be like training or annual planning, okay? It has to sound like a project. Well, the best way to make it sound like a project is to use the word project. So I'm going to say this was the ABC website project, okay? Ooh, that's a good one, right? It says project right there. Don't use words like maintenance or ongoing or anything like that. Support, those are bad words, right? All right, so when did my project start? We're going to say it started in January of 2016, and it went through May of 2016. Now, these, again, are fields that are going to be required. You don't have to necessarily do them for your sheet here, but they will be required on there. You can select what your role was, your industry, your actual job title there, your organization contact. Now, this is important because this is the person who would need to sign off in the event you get audited. Okay, this is who's going to sign off in the event you get audited. So you always want to give them a heads up and say, hey, I'm submitting my PMP application. There's a chance I might need you to sign off on my experience forms. Just an FYI. Okay, so give them a heads up. So you want somebody who's willing to sign off, verifying that you did work those hours on that project. Okay, so you can fill all that in, and then let's see, it was, a 5-month project, right? Let's say maybe I worked 80 hours on this, because maybe you're doing multiple projects at a time. So I'm going to say I got 400 hours. Now, notice what I did there. I kind of ballparked it. That is acceptable. Again, don't lie, but just do some good estimating. Now, I know as project manager, I've been a project manager my entire life, literally. I think I was 2. And we work a lot of hours typically. Typically, we work overtime. Unfortunately, PMI is only going to allow you to claim 40 hours per week. So when you figure 52 weeks out of the year, drop off a couple for vacation or sick time or whatever, you can kind of roughly ballpark probably no more than 2,000 hours a year. Okay, so just kind of a little mark there. And again, I'm not going to go into little, crazy detail on this, but I want to get a good sense, right, of how many hours I work. All right, now you're going to do it by percentage. And you're going to say, okay, of those 400 hours, how much time did I spend in initiating? And again, don't beat yourself up on this. Come up with an estimate. I'm going to say, I did 5% in initiating. Planning, probably a little bit more than initiating, right? Now, executing, that's the big part, right? That's the doing work, right? And then I probably did 20 here, and that would leave 10 for there. See, it's going to equal 100%. And see how nice the spreadsheet is? It actually told you how many hours that means, okay? And that's what you're going to be plugging in to your actual PMI application. You'll plug in these hours for these domains. Okay, so it makes it nice and easy for you. And again, you can just roughly ballpark. Now, maybe you are in a project that you weren't involved in the initiating, so you'd have no hours there. Or maybe it's still ongoing, so it hasn't closed yet. That's fine. Just don't put any hours there. The important thing is that overall, with all of your projects that you're going to submit, you want to make sure you have hours at least in all domains covered. It doesn't have to all be on one project, but it does need to be covered. Okay, now here's the spot that gets most people in trouble. You have to provide PMI with a description of your project work that is described in between 350 and 550 characters. That's not words. That is characters. Okay, now we've given you an example description here. Please use this. Okay, I mean, make it your own, but there's really key things in here. This is where I'll see most applications get rejected, is because the description is not clear. It's not in PMI speak, and it's, they won't accept it. So the first thing you want to do is you've got to state what the objective of the project. Now keep it easy. ABC project, website project was launching a new website. Simple. Don't do a bunch of technical jargon, how many sites, blah, 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 blah. Keep it very simple. Now here's another very important piece of your description. You must state what your responsibilities were as project manager. Doesn't mean you had the project manager title, but what were you responsible for leading and directing? You can still say as PM, because you were technically project managing that aspect. Responsible for leading and directing. Notice I'm using the ampersand there, trying to shorten as much as possible, because again, I don't have a whole lot here. Leading and directing project activities or initiatives or whatever. Helps if I can spell. Right, and then I did a little colon, and then you have to do it for each domain. So in initiating, drafted charter, received authorization, whatever, ID'd stakeholders. Now notice again, I'm not doing a bunch of technical jargon, acronyms. I'm using PMI speak, making it very clear. Planning. And again, notice I'm abbreviating the domains, right? And you have to describe. If I've put hours in there, I have to say what I did. Created, project management plan. Maybe I abbreviate that. Develop the budget and schedule. Ampersand that. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so on and so forth, and then monitor, execute, and then monitor control, and then close. And then at the end, you want to state what the outcome was, right? So typically what I tell people to say is project delivers successfully, or project ongoing, or project canceled, okay? Now notice, I didn't even finish putting in all the different domains. I'm already up to 277 characters. Remember, on the actual PMI application, it's a it's a hard stop. You cannot physically enter more than 550 characters. Okay, that's why it's nice to kind of get them out like them. Okay, so pretend that's all filled in. Come back over here to this experience summary, and there's our ABC website project. Now you see they gave me credit for 5 months and 400 hours, and you can see the spread of the domains, and you can see up here I still need 55 months and 7,100 hours. Now here's where I'm going to show you another little thing, because maybe I was doing that ABC website project, but I was also doing the XYZ strategic plan development project, and we're going to add that word project after everything. And let's say that actually went from February of that same year, and it went through July of that same year. Okay, and again, blah 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 blah, and I'm gonna give an estimate here. I'll just say, let's say 600 hours, and again, I'm just gonna kind of go through and do a little ballpark here. Okay, whoops, we probably don't want 30, we want 20. Belinda can do math. There we go. Okay, blah, 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 blah. Now, here's what I want to show you over here in your experience summary. Now, notice I had 6 months, right? But because those 6 months, 5 of those 6 months were happening at the same time as my website project, I only got 1 additional qualified month, right? Because they were overlapping, okay? I can still get my hours, so I still got the total hours, but in my months, because they were overlapping, they're not going to give you, if I have 2 projects running concurrently, I don't get to count the months 2 different times. They're happening at the same time. Okay, so sometimes people get a little freaked out about that. And again, this is why this tool is so valuable, because then it says, okay, well, I still need 53 and 6,500. Now, let's say you do a bunch of annual projects. Maybe you're responsible for some type of a site or location or whatever. I tell people to try to group all the little ones into an annual project. So I would do something like the 2017 site management project, blah, 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 right? And again, group it. So it's like this. Don't say projects. Say project, because if it's an S on there, PMI is going to want you to spell out each individual one, and who has time for that, right? So December 2017. Okay, and now again, let's see, that was a whole year project, so maybe I had 1,500 hours on that. Okay, and again, go through and do my stuff here. I don't know why I did 12, but that's okay. 50. I'll do 8% in closing, which will leave 20% here. Okay, now go back over to our experience summary. So see how it shows up as a project. Maybe there was a lot of little initiatives as part of it, but I grouped it. And again, it gave me the full 12 months for that because it was a different year. And it gave me the full 1,500 hours. All right, so again, go through. The simpler you can make it, the better. The key here is definitely that description. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Again, we try to make everything as easy as possible. I'm a big supporter of project managers getting certified. So please, please definitely reach out if you do have any questions, and we're happy to support you and to answer those questions. Good luck on your exam, and we look forward to celebrating with you.